guys, I am Chris Kaler.
And I'm Amber Foster Kyuujin Cosplay, and today it is time for movie review!
For the first time, we're actually doing this. We thought about doing something like this for a while, and COVID happened, so we couldn't go to the theater.
Yeah.
And then this movie, and you know which movie we're talking about because of the title, came along, and we thought, what a perfect opportunity to do the first movie review of the channel. Because it's not that different from the discussions we have when we do reactions.
No,
and
not really.
We kind of needed to talk about this movie. We just came home from the theater from watching Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yay!
And we're going to do a review without spoilers in the beginning. And then when we are going to enter spoiler territory...
Some secrets will be
told.
Told.
We are French if you don't know us, guys.
Some secrets will be told. Sorry.
Yeah, we will announce it, so then you can watch the first part if you haven't seen the movie or if you don't want to get spoiled. And if you have seen or if you don't care, you get to see the last part
In
of
any
everything.
case, like she said, we're gonna write down when you can skip to the spoil part and no spoil part anyway. So
yeah, but we're gonna start with the no spoil part. Spider-Man No Way Home is the third movie in the Tom Holland Spider-Man universe.
Yeah, the MCU universe. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So basically what happened is we're after Mysterio from the last movie. Peter's identity has been revealed, so he's kind of dealing with the consequences of that, and he's not dealing well with the consequences of that, so he asked Doctor Strange to erase everyone's memory, but he has doubts, changes some stuff, and basically it goes wrong.
Yep.
So if you have seen the trailer, you also know that we get a bunch of visitors from other universes. And some of those are villains from other Spider-Man movies. So that's basically the general feel of the movie. What did you think? Because we've tried not to talk about this on the way home.
Okay. First of all,
did you like it first?
I liked the movie.
I liked it too.
I liked the movie. I thought at first though that the beginning was maybe a bit long. From what
it was long?
From what I was expected, but when everything started to be put into action, it went well.
Okay, you thought it was long. I thought the beginning was fast, actually.
Okay, sorry. I thought that the villain part took a long time to start for.
Well, it's the intro of a movie, though. We gotta settle things, understand where we are as a character. And in my opinion, I thought they kind of rushed it, and I get it because it's a big movie. I really enjoyed it, but I mean, there's a bit of it that's nostalgia and a bit of it that's Marvel. Aside from that, I would say that, the beginning and the end were kind of rushed a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's only because we have so many stuff to see, so many villains to see, so many storylines to wrap up. The beginning felt to me like from the beginning to the moment where we do the spell, it kind of felt like a long trailer. And then the villain part was, I wouldn't say rushed, but I would say that I would have accepted at least 30 to 1 hour more.
A few more scenes with them.
A few more scenes, but then we'll go into details with that later. But I kind of expected it though. You cannot bring, like, how many villains do we have? Five. So we got 5 villains, and all of them bring baggage. All of them bring nostalgia. It's kind of a fan service movie, like, for sure.
Of course it is.
You gotta please the fans. You gotta bring in, the calls from the other movies. You gotta have us remember, oh, it's true, like, it was like that and stuff like that. And it's the old generations. Like, you don't want to mess things up here, but you gotta have time for every single one of them. And on top of that, we're dealing with Tom Holland's Peter Parker dealing with his stuff. And, the whole spell going wrong thing, it's a bit too much. Considering they're doing a lot of, miniseries these days, I kind of wish halfway through the movie that they would have done a miniseries of that.
That would have been best.
That would have been so cool.
6 or 8 episodes, and you take the time to deal with them.
Yeah, because unfortunately...
in more details, that would be nice.
Yeah, because unfortunately I felt that, despite the fact that it looked amazing, it's Marvel. Like, there's a bunch of CGI, but everything was kind of cool.
above that though.
But that, if you want to go into details,
Okay.
then
Talk about the fact that you want to detail everything. Go ahead.
But I'm just gonna finish this then. Despite the fact that it looked great and the fight scenes were cool, like we could have done more on the action front, you know. And I mean, they had a bunch of characters talking to one another. That was done well. I kind of wish we had a little bit more, but some people don't like that. I heard people in the theater actually say that it wasn't that action heavy, and they kind of wish it was. In my opinion, I also thought, action wise, it wasn't that. We didn't have enough, but for what we got, they balanced it well.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
We could have a bit more. But
we wish we could have had more.
We wish, but we did not.
But on the storytelling,
what we saw, I remember a few fight scenes that really rendered well on screen.
Two to me.
Yeah.
Two fight scenes stood out for me, but that we have to wait for later. But I just thought, like, we had a few fight scenes, but they were way too short considering like the huge weight of this event. Like having a bunch of bad guys that have been there before. We know about their powers. We know what they've been through, and we've seen them fight before. We know what they're capable of. Some of the fight scenes were like a bit too rushed. Like some of the villains were dealt with so fast, it's almost like they weren't there, and then we kind of forget about them a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
With the villains, like you said, there's some of them kind of were underwhelming. But
at the same time, it's kind of a double-edged sword, or I don't know what's the expression in English, but these characters are so beloved. You want to see them more, and at the same time, like, we can't show them too much because they're not the main
it's not the main movie.
Exactly. And this movie definitely takes on the story with in mind the idea that you've seen every other Spider-Man movie. I was wondering, if you have not seen, because we've seen them. You can see it. I'm actually mad though that I don't have our original copies from the Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, because we grew up with those.
I'm pissed too.
Yeah, but we don't have the DVD ones, and I think I lost my VHS. But we grew up with Spider-Man, with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. I saw Extraordinary Spider-Man when I was in college, and I've actually never seen Tom Holland's Spider-Man outside of the Marvel, Avengers universe.
Yeah.
But so this was kind of a first to me. But those villains I knew very well, and I was wondering, if you don't know them, how many jokes are you gonna get? How are you gonna understand truly?
How many puns,
because they don't really. I mean, they did spend some time talking about it though. They spent a little bit of discussion, exploring what happened to them, where they came from. So it's not as if you'll be completely blind coming in and you won't understand a thing. But how many of those jokes will you understand? How many of those callbacks are you gonna get? And is it gonna be as good if you haven't seen Extraordinary Spider-Man or the original ones?
We can't really judge on that because we knew them.
We knew them, and we laughed. We definitely laughed. Like, it's the jokes landed, and they knew it was a fan service type of movie, and they played with it very well. They landed those punches. The way everyone came in, everyone has at their little entrance scene, and they really played with the nostalgia. And so that worked. And like I said, the jokes landed. You got the usual Avengers, type of jokes. And I'm guessing the usual Tom Holland Spider-Man type of interactions and stuff.
Well, with the MCU type of joke, you got more sassy character, a sarcastic comment.
Yeah, I mean, we got Doctor Strange as Doctor Strange, and Peter is Peter.
Yeah.
His friends are his friends. Like, everyone brings, the usual humor that we're used to from the MCU. So that didn't change. And, I mean, they're used to handling a bunch of characters together, so it's not like they completely messed it up. But we wish we could have had more. But we still enjoyed it a lot.
That's the risk and the obvious factor when you're doing a movie with so many characters that you need to talk about and show on screen, though.
To be fair, though, I've seen movies that completely messed it up, where this movie, at least, was entertaining. Like, we came out of it with a smile on our faces. Like
Yeah.
we enjoyed it very much.
Good entertainment, yeah.
Wanting more, perhaps wanting more, but there was not a moment in this movie where we were like, that bit is a bit. I mean, you thought the beginning was long because you wanted to get in the action. I thought we have so much to see, like, and we get to it, but at the same time, like I said, it felt rushed. So, I understand that the movie has to be paced, and it was already rushed to begin with. So, despite that, we got into some interesting conversations, interesting scenes where, other movies would maybe have brushed this off. Like it would not have been an issue that they would have put in the script because no time.
Well,
And I love that they really, like, that's the thing, they really balanced well the action we got versus the discussions we got. So even if we wanted both from, we wanted more from both, what we got was balanced. So there's that.
I'll be honest though, even though that we technically laughed through all of the jokes and puns that we saw in the movie, I might say maybe some of them are a little bit like cheesy or cringy. I don't know.
But that's Spider-Man.
That's Spider-Man.
He's a kid, we gotta have some cheesy jokes.
He's a bit.
And I mean, we watched it in French. So,
True.
for example, there's a line that Doctor Strange says in the trailer that I've seen in English, and then when we came to it in French, it did not lend as well as in the trailer because it was in French. We watched it in French because we're in Quebec.
It's the first version that came out on screen.
First, exactly. So we wanted to watch it first.
We want to have tickets, so we took the first one that we saw.
But I was also wondering, what the voices were gonna be like, because I mean, it's the nostalgia for us. Like the older Spider-Mans, we watched them in French, so I was wondering if they were gonna bring back the voice actors and how similar it was gonna be for those characters we grew up with. So, but yeah, I mean, I don't feel like there's much to say about the story without getting into spoiler territory.
Well, okay.
So,
technical effects, though.
Yeah, that's the thing.
First of all, visually, that movie was stunning.
Yeah.
There's so many scenes. Like, you can take an art piece from the shots.
I remember thinking in some of the shots, like, kind of they missed it here. Like they could have done something great with the background, but it, at the very least, it did not feel overly CGI, which was a fear of mine because I know that Tom Holland's Spider-Man is mostly CGI, and I know the other Spider-Mans also had CGI, but I mean, I was watching the behind the scenes this week. There's also a lot of practical effect, and I was wondering how noticeable it was gonna be, old villains and stuff without CGI. Well, I actually have to say, like, the older villains had a weird costume feel to them because it felt like practical effect. Like, I don't know how much of it was CGI. That's how good it was. Like, I couldn't tell how much of the costumes were added in. And for some of them, I was like, it kind of looks like a cosplayer just got into the movie. It's funny, but that's because the costumes were there. You know? So, and we'll talk about that later on, but I felt that, they did the best they could considering, the technology now is a lot better. So, and the rest of the movie felt not so bad. And that's Marvel to you. Like, I mean, Avengers did Endgame and stuff look incredible and it's all CGI. So, I felt that this movie, despite, what they had to do and the fights and stuff were crazy, but it looked good. It could have been a mess, but it looked good.
I really like the fact that for the villains, like, they kept their original costume but with an upgrade to them.
For some of them, yeah.
So, yeah, you got like you said, the nostalgia effect. Like, those are the OG costumes, but with a twist because it's a
better movie. It's a better movie.
Yeah.
It's a more recent movie.
Yeah.
Well, some of them didn't, though. But, like when they appear, it's kind of like they're straight from these old movies.
Yeah, they are straight from the old movies, of course.
Yeah. I mean, we see that's why they put it in the trailer. Like, that's the punch of, oh my god, it's like he's straight out from that story,
With CGI because they're
not so much. Like, I know a lot of these actors, I mean, for some of them, that was 20 years ago. Sometimes, in Marvel, they've taken actors, like, I don't remember which Avengers it was, but they kind of CGI'd a younger face on Robert Downey Jr. once, and it did look like, Robert Downey Jr. when he was a kid, but the effect is so weird, you know? And they could have definitely done that with the villains because, I mean, most of them died in their movies. So technically, they're not supposed to have aged at all.
No.
So I was kind of, you know, almost dreading, you know, the makeup CGI that they would probably do, but I didn't feel like they did much of that. And if they did, it was really subtle and really well done. So that did not bother me. Like visually, nothing in this movie truly bothered me, except perhaps for, you know, some of the fight scenes. There's so much that's happening. We have a hard time following. Like,
True.
What the fuck is going on? But it's not
yeah.
often. It's not often. And I mean, it's a bit dark and stuff here and there, but mostly, I mean, Marvel usually does really well with the graphics. And it was not a disappointment. So there you go. I really feel like I've seen a lot of people do reviews like this where they do a non-spoiler and a spoiler part. And they always say there's not much to say in the non-spoiler part because we want to spoil. So I feel like this has gone long enough. We have to move to the spoiler side of the story.
You've been warned now.
Yes.
We tampered with the stability of space-time. Multiverse is a concept about which we know frighteningly little. The longer you do it, the more dangerous it becomes.
So from now, this is the spoiler part. If you have not seen this movie, we assume you don't care. So let's go. The question you wanted answered.
Yes.
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 Yes. They are in it.
It felt so good. It was so good.
The moment it happened, late in the movie though, I felt the rush of adrenaline in the fucking room. First one that appears is Andrew Garfield. When he turns around and when people in the room started realizing, oh shit, that's not Tom Holland. That's not him. You literally felt kind of a chill.
Yeah.
And then he
Like
appeared.
goosebumps, yeah.
He appeared, and you had oh my god, a little murmur. You know. Few minutes after, Tobey Maguire gets in. The room almost exploded in murmurs. We definitely knew, like we could tell, most of these people were from our generation and they grew up with Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man.
Yeah, we know
felt
what kind.
good. It felt so good. He's definitely aged. He's definitely aged, and that difference was a bit shocking, but it's been 20 years, we understand. Like I said before, no CGI makeup when it comes to that, so he didn't look, 20 or anything.
No, he was really much more slender.
But that gave him a feel of the wise old Spider-Man, the guy who's been there before, and he's gonna, and the way people in the movie reacted almost made me feel like, Jesus Christ, have you seen his movies? Like, you could tell. I mean, I know Andrew Garfield said that he grew up also on Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man movies, so he was, he keeps saying, if he has to choose one Spider-Man, it's gonna be him. So I know that there's this, there's this fanboy in him, and maybe in the others as well. But you could almost feel it in the movie too. Like it's like they're excited that he gets here. So of course that was cool. We were expecting it. Like we really tried not to spoil ourselves. We knew the rumors and it made sense. We were bringing back everyone. So
it would have been so stupid
I
to
would
not
have
bring
been
them
pissed.
in the movie.
I would have been pissed
because this is such a huge opportunity to bring like all three of them in one movie.
Yeah.
And money-wise,
they can afford it.
Yeah.
But you bring back Willem Dafoe as soon as as soon as we saw him in the trailers and stuff, it was confirmed. Because we can bring back...
technically, it's not confirmed that it's Willem Dafoe in the trailer, but you can...
Yeah, we see his face.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, we do.
No.
Or we hear his voice at
We
least.
heard his laugh, so yeah,
Yeah, but
it's
the last
him.
trailer, I think we see his face.
No, we don't.
Well, you didn't see the last trailer, so you can tell.
Okay.
In any case, we saw in the trailers, we see Jamie Foxx, we see Alfred Molina, what's his name?
Alfred Molina, yeah.
Dr. Octavius. So you see these actors, but some of them haven't been on the big screen for a while. Like, we don't see them often anymore. So we're like, maybe, they can just throw them in and stuff like that. But the bigger ones, like Jamie Foxx is still a big name. Willem Dafoe is always going to be a big name.
Mm-hmm.
Those bigger names, when you see them in the movie, you're like, there's absolutely no fucking way that
Andrew
Andrew Garfield and
and
Tobey
Tobey
Maguire are
Maguire
not in
in
it.
there.
And of course they delivered. When I keep saying I wish we had more, I also mean that. They had a bunch of discussions. They talked, they helped Peter, they helped each other as Peter.
Yeah.
They fought, they had 2 conversations about, let's talk about our backstories a little bit. Let's make fun of each other's quirks and stuff, and let's make fun of what the other movies did wrong, and we'll talk about that. But I still felt that they were not there long enough. I kind of wish we had a little longer, 1 hour more or something.
1 hour more?
Oh yeah, I didn't see the movie play at all. Like, it's 2 hours and something?
Yeah.
I did not see it happen. It
Me
was really
neither.
fast to me. And
That's why
Jesus.
maybe you were aware that it would have been so much more interesting to
As a
maybe have
miniseries.
a miniseries, yeah.
Yeah.
But
But,
because I'm missing Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and even Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in action, and they got their own style when they were fighting.
and the costumes too.
And the costumes
Like,
too.
oh gosh, our costume looked so good. Seeing them next to each other, were like the full CGI almost suit from, because I think he's got a suit. Most of it is CGI, but I think he's got an actual suit, but they CGI over it. So Tom Holland looks CGI. You've got Andrew Garfield, who's, his costume looked more modern, but then at the same time cheaper, and it shows. Like, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of a knockoff version. I've always felt it was like a knockoff version. And then you got Tobey Maguire, who looks older, who looks stronger, who looks more real.
More
like
texture.
he's there, actually there. And it's the same suits too, because that was a thing. And I was wondering, are they gonna modernize the suits? Is it gonna be full of CGI as well? Most of what they did really stayed in the styles of what they used to do. Sometimes, yes, CGI here and there, for sure. We expected it, but most of the time we were like, shit, like, he looks CGI, but he does it, and that's pretty cool, And, yeah, it felt like a rush of adrenaline. We haven't seen that Spider-Man in 20 years, and Andrew Garfield is just... I'm not gonna say I missed him, because he wasn't my favorite, but... It's still cool to see all of them together and their styles being so different, and they get to, like I said, they made fun of each other's movies, and the humor in there was really good. And yes, it's true, if you haven't seen those older movies, I'm like, are you gonna catch everything? Like, there's this joke, for example, it wasn't French, so maybe that's why I didn't pick it up.
I picked it up so fast.
picked it up, yeah.
I laughed out loud.
But there's this joke where Tobey Maguire is like trying to, because they all have traumas. They've all been through some shit, and Andrew Garfield is still, it's been a while, but his loss of Gwen is more recent, so he's got a hard time, getting over it. And he's feeling down, and you got Tobey Maguire coming in like the psychologist of the group, because he's wiser, he's older, he's been through this, and he's the one that faced the worst, if you think about it. So he's like, oh, come on, man, like, you're fine, like, you're extraordinary.
I don't think so,
Like, you're extraordinary, man.
You really think?
Listen to me, you are extraordinary. And they said it in French, but then I picked up on, oh, they're making fun of his title. That was cool.
Another one that we cannot have to. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man had back problems. They said it was because he was swinging in the air, but we all know that he had back problems since his fall in the second movie.
Or the second one.
It's when he lost his power and
he's like, my back,
my back, yeah.
And then we bring in the back problems and stuff. Like, all those calls, or, picking on how Tobey Maguire used to dress in Spider-Man, because he dressed really geeky. Whereas I've always felt, some people say Tom Holland is the best average Spider-Man when it comes to being both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. Andrew Garfield was always the best Spider-Man, with his stunts and his energy and just his sarcasm and stuff. And Tobey Maguire was always the best Peter Parker. And it shows, because when he shows up dressed like, in Andrew Garfield's words, like he's about to conduct church or something, like mass, and he's still dressed like this, and he used to dress like that. Like, he dresses like a nerd. And it shows, and even his fellow Peter Parkers are like, thinking that he's a geek. That he's more geek and nerd than the other Peter Parkers. So picking up on that was cool. But then also the dynamic of wondering who's the better Spider-Man, who's the more intelligent, and who's the wisest, who's been through more shit. We can definitely tell that Tobey Maguire being older, having been through much more and having faced more villains. Technically, because if you consider that Tom Holland has faced, the villains in Avengers 2, it doesn't really count. But his own, experiences were brutal and more numerous. So he's got more experience, and to see him manage to outsmart the other Spider-Man, I felt, we're respecting where the character comes from. We're respecting what he's been through, and we definitely respected the trauma. Because we addressed it, and I really like that, because this movie was fan service for sure, and the general theme of it is basically accepting that you have to you're a hero. Being a hero, what does it mean? Making sacrifices so other people can live or have a good life.
And no matter what, you need to keep moving on, because that's your job, and that's what people who cares about you would want you to do.
Yeah, so that's the general theme I got from this movie. But I love that despite that, and despite bringing in all the fan service and stuff, we still took time to give a personal journey, because it was that, but it was also about undoing the mistakes from the older movies, and giving that chance to not only the villains but the Spider-Mans from the other generations and stuff to get their redemption when it comes to what they did wrong before. Yeah. Like Andrew Garfield dealing with, I couldn't save my girlfriend, he gets to save the other Peter's girlfriend. Tobey Maguire having, carried the guilt of, many of his killers, of his bad guys died facing him, facing the guilt of, that I killed Harry Osborn's father.
Well, technically, it just escaped.
Yeah, but
Okay, for Tobey Maguire, I saw two problems. The main one was the fact that he killed a man to avenge his Uncle Ben's death.
Yeah, but he dealt with that.
And this time, he prevent Tom Holland's Peter Parker to do
exactly.
The same thing.
Well, it's kind of the same. Yeah, it's better like this actually. It's the idea of not following your emotions like you used to do, and carrying the guilt of having killed someone. So stopping Tom Holland's Peter from killing Green Goblin, basically, is his redemption.
Yeah, and for those of you who have seen the movie...
Well, it's a spoiler part, we can say anything.
The spoiler part. The main topic was to give a second chance to the villains.
Yes.
And I really love that part, because if you think about it, none of them started bad.
Almost none of them, yeah.
Well, almost none of them.
Yeah, pretty much all of them. They all, but that was the strength of the Spider-Man movies. I really, the best Spider-Man movie ever is the second one from Sam Raimi with Octavius, and what made him the best was he came from a very real place with a very tragic past. He's a guy we can root for, and those movies deal with the superhero story of, we have a villain, we have a good guy, let's make them face, and we need to have a winner and stuff, and most often that means the villain dies. And I love that in this movie, not only do we undo that a little bit, but we get to, and I love that they went there. I was talking about, conversations and stuff that they went to despite not having the time, but I still love that they did this. We get to see beyond the villain mask a little bit more, because these characters all came with backstories, and we know that from the other movies, but we never truly saw their side of it. So to get to witness Green Goblin, acting like Mike Osborn, because he's technically acting, but we did get to see him a little bit, to truly see the person in Green Goblin and stuff, to really save Octavius and give him the chance to be the hero he should have always been, because if it wasn't for that damn fucking chip in his neck, he could have been a hero, he could have been a true hero.
Yeah.
And he never got that. And just giving back their chance to Electro and the Lizard, and even Sandman, their chance to be normal again and have a chance at a life, because what happened to them were accidents.
It was accident, and unfortunately, their Spider-Man couldn't save them.
Yeah. They tried. They really tried. They really, really tried. But unfortunately, and I mean, most often, they kill themselves by accident too.
Kill themselves or sacrifice themselves. Maybe not in the Extraordinary Spider-Man, because I know that he was the reason why they died. But for the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man,
most often they end up.
Most of them, they end up killing themselves.
Yeah, sort of. And but aside from that, I really love that we went there. Having to see not only the villain but the men behind it too, and giving them the chance to, all of them, to kind of undo those things they regretted from the older movies. Because I really saw, not the attempt, but they tried to, yes, make fun of the older movies and stuff, and through that kind of address the mistakes that the older movies used to make. And I think the villains fall in that category as well. We got to see what could have maybe been more developed in those older movies. Because, I mean, Octavius did good, but the others, maybe not in Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, but, we forget that they used to be human most often in those movies. We forget, like, fucking Osborn, I remember it as a kid. What's his fucking first name? I keep forgetting. I want to call him Harry, but that's his son. Norman. There you go.
Well,
So Norman, as a kid, I remember not understanding that. Well, I did understand it a little bit, but it's kind of like he was sort of evil all along. It's easy to mix him in with the Green Goblin.
Well, he was a strict father from the few scenes that we remember.
Yeah.
But it's really at the end when he asked Peter to not tell anything to Harry that we saw that
But we see
his
it, yeah.
father decided. So
We see it in his face, but then to truly spend entire scenes with the man that was Green Goblin and that remembers, something happened to him and stuff like that, and he's so vulnerable. It felt cool, like great to get to see that side of those villains that we didn't get to see in the movies before. So that I really enjoyed.
Well, there's a few scenes I remember. I'm kind of bit, not pissed or sad, but disappointed that...
Disappointed? Okay.
Yeah, for some of the villains, they kept making jokes at them, like with Dr. Octavius.
Yeah, but I mean, his name is funny.
But still, it's all the fact that because when we first met Tom Holland's Peter Parker, with the nanotechnology, Peter Parker is the control of the metal arm.
But yeah, but that's the reality in Tom Holland's universe. It wasn't in Tobey Maguire's universe.
Yeah.
So Octavius was never going to face that problem. But, considering that nanotechnology with Tony Stark and stuff, that's a thing here, of course he was going to face that problem. I think it would have been stupid to not have him, lose the fight as quickly as he did because of that. Even if it felt like Jesus, it's like the guy is not powerful anymore. He definitely was.
Just a bit.
But that's the thing I was talking about before, how because we have so much stuff to say and do, the fights are so short. Like, we take care of Sandman and Electro like that. Well, and to be fair, Sandman helped. Well, but...
when the main conflict is exploding, Sandman changed his mind so quickly, it doesn't make sense.
Well, it makes sense when, he kept listening to Electro. It did come a bit out of nowhere, but I can understand it. Like, Electro kept saying, things were going to change, and he wasn't sure if Peter was trying to kill them and stuff, and Sandman just wants to go back to his daughter. Like, that's the thing. They kind of turned against Spider-Man, but Sandman's goal was to push the button, whereas the others didn't want to push the button. So he was like, you're not going to save us? Maybe Sandman was like, if they leave, you're not going to push the button, so I'm just going to fucking find the box myself, push the button, and go back to my daughter.
Yeah, I think that part was maybe not as much explained or shown.
But that's the thing, we got to focus on other people.
Yeah.
The fights...
Because his turnaround went from completely nowhere, in my opinion, so...
And I mean... Yes, and it doesn't really make sense in the end. Like, he sees they're fighting, doesn't make sense that he turns on them again, you know, that he fights them actively. You let them do their thing and then go ask them to fucking push the button. Like, do whatever you want, but don't fight them. Why would you fight them? You're supposed to be on the same side.
Yep.
And I mean, Octavius kind of left as well, but he came back pretending to be a villain and ended up being the hero again, which is what we expected from him. So that's good, but that brings me to Electro. Electro's power is fucking strong. He had the Tesseract and stuff. Like, he's meant to be... What? No, sorry, I said Tesseract. It wasn't a Tesseract, right?
Well, he had an energy from Stark Industries.
Yeah.
He had something.
But like, he's the villain of an entire movie, you know? And he's dealt with so easily. And Lizard, same thing. Like, he's not even around for much.
One movie, 5 villains.
Yeah.
That's the main problem there.
I think that's kind of why... But then, I mean, that was the main, you know, fault in Spider-Man 3 from Sam Raimi. And I think it's also something that you know, could have been worked on more here. But I still left the theater happy that I got to see them again. I will say it again, as a series it would have made more sense, but...
Yeah.
Because I wish we could have had Toby and Andrew together with Tom for longer. But yeah, the villains didn't really feel like villains as much as, you know, accessories to the story. You know, it's more the personal problem of, oh Jesus, I gotta go through accepting that, you know, I'm Spider-Man, it's my life. And that's another issue in the movie. You know, Doctor Strange keeps saying, you keep living the double life where you're both Peter Parker and Spider-Man. You kind of have to make the choice, because if you keep living that double life, it will destroy you. And it's kind of destroying him in the beginning, and because he wants to be both, he destroys the spell. And in the end, he makes the decision to be Spider-Man. And we've been there with Tobey Maguire before.
Yeah.
And I did feel, you know, it kind of felt like because we're mixing all of those movies together, we kind of brought in a little of the darkness from the original ones. And a little bit of the storyline, too. Because, you know, having to leave MJ, having to move alone in that crappy apartment, it's exactly the same, you know? And, you know, we have the spoiler, too, from the cutscene at the end. That Venom is going to be a thing.
Venom is going to be a thing.
I'm very excited because if he can get his own movie, that's the problem in the third one.
Undo the wrong from the Sam Raimi's movie, please.
Because that was the main problem, I think, with Venom in the third movie. He did not get his you know, wrong casting to begin with, because he was too quirky, too happy.
As
not,
Venom,
not conflicted enough, and not dark enough, and then he did not have the development he deserved as a character. So those were the problems. And now with the cutscene from the end, we know it's gonna come back. Venom is gonna be there. Maybe not Tom Hardy's Venom, because he went back to, because he was in there in the cutscene, getting drunk,
drinking drinks and alcohol and stuff.
Yeah. And he went back to his universe for sure, but he left behind that little piece of alien goo. Mm-hmm. So, and that was funny too as well. Like, oh, what did you find? Like, what was your weirdest enemy? I fought an alien goo from space. And Tom Holland like, well, I fought a purple alien from in space. You went to space.
I just fought a weird guy in a rhino suit.
Yeah, like, that's where you're extraordinary came
thanks,
from.
Man. I also like the fact that they took so many scenes from the original, like Sam Raimi and the Extraordinary Spider-Man, and they just used them back into this one. Like scenes, yeah. Like MJ's fall is the same.
But that's not Sam Raimi, though.
No. Like Extraordinary Spider-Man, MJ's fall is almost scene by scene.
Except Andrew Garfield gets to save her.
Yeah. Also, the Aunt May's death.
Yes.
Is almost scene by scene the same as Sam Raimi, Uncle Ben's death.
From the words she says to him to, you know, how it happens and how he comes out of it too. I was surprised that it happened, but I wasn't unhappy because that's the thing I really loved in the original movies, the darkness, the greediness. Superheroes don't have it easy, and I always felt that at least this Spider-Man, because maybe he's a kid, he has a more he's got a younger vibe that's, you know, happy-go-lucky and stuff. And I'm sure he went through his fair share of shit. It's just, it doesn't feel like he truly faced the consequences of his actions. And now we're dealing with, identity coming out, people being, hurt from what happened, losing Aunt May, the grief from that. And then in comes the two Spider-Men who went through so much shit, grief included. They've beat themselves up over this. They're the best place to tell him, dude, this is gonna be hard, but this is what you gotta do. Because this is your life. And I was really happy again when you talk about how Andrew Garfield saved MJ like he could save Gwen, and Peter because it's my Peter, so Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man saving Goblin, because Goblin died in his movie, so that's one thing, one wrong he changes, and then helping Tom Holland not going down the same road he did. That look he gave him too, I know what you're feeling right now.
But this is not the way to do it.
And then fucking getting stabbed.
Because he always gets stabbed in his he always gets hurt somehow.
He gets really hurt in his movies. I was so pissed. I turned to her and I was like, if he dies in this movie,
I'm gonna riot.
I'm gonna fucking riot. I hate when they do this. I don't remember which movie or franchise or series, but I feel like they've done that before. No, they brought back a character.
They did it in Boruto though.
No, I don't mean that. It's a movie I'm talking about.
Okay.
But a thing where, they brought back a character from before. Oh, Jesus. Oh, yes. Okay, one example of that, and spoiler alert, they did that in Dr. Sleep.
Oh, yeah, true.
I got pissed at that. Like, you don't get to bring back, a character I used to love as a kid and do him in like this. And I almost thought they were gonna do that to Tobey Maguire here, and I got really, really mad.
Thank you.
But Jesus. So yeah, that was extreme. But but the fact that all Spider-Men were always good with drama scenes, crying on command, going through the grief.
It is pre-required to cry on command when you're a Spider-Man.
Yeah, because they're kids.
Let's be honest.
Emotions pour out. But Andrew Garfield brought it to the table really early, and Tobey brought in all the quirks and the mimics he used to do, and the emotion in his eyes at the end as well. That was all there, and Tom Holland was amazing. When his aunt dies, it's amazing. Yeah. So a lot of beautiful scenery in those scenes as well.
One of the scenes that I really love is when he's in grief. He's in the rain. It's in slow mo. It's everything is focused on his face
and being ruined by Jameson doing his rent.
Yeah,
because he's always there.
Yeah, but that shot with the effects and the lights was just. This is my favorite scene from the movie. Just the way that they did it, and it did it. Sorry.
I can't say. I don't think it's my favorite. Visually, maybe.
Visually, this is my favorite scene.
Visually, maybe. The final fight could have been it. I got a bit, confused here and there because it goes so fast. We kind of lose track of whose Spider-Man's suit is whose,
Yeah, it was a little bit overwhelmed and all
like
over
they keep
place.
calling themselves like Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3.
Well, they all call Peter Parker or Spider-Man.
I know, but then they get confused, I get confused.
Yeah.
We don't see much because everything is going so fast. So sometimes Tobey's is easy to see, because he's so different, but the other two kind of flash the same, so we're like, except for the eyes, because the eyes look really, really CGI in Tom Holland's, but we don't see the eyes often, so. But yeah, that aside, I think it's really hard to pick a favorite scene. I would maybe say Aunt May's death was really well done. Yeah. And when Tom says his goodbyes to the other two Spider-Men, and he's like, thank you, and he gives them the hug because I would have done that too. These guys made you who you are. You don't know it, and in this universe, it's not true. But cinematically speaking, cinematography anyway, in the cinema and movie business thing, they made you, so they were there before. Their legacy. I thought it was really beautiful, and everyone in the theater really, really liked that too. Yeah. So.
Another scene that I liked and kind of find funny was the fight between Tom Holland, Spider-Man, and Green Goblin, because, come on, that apartment building walls and floors are
made of
Made of cardboard. Seriously.
I mean, I get when
Do
you
not tell
push
me
someone.
when you push someone on the floor, you're going three
No, but
doors down.
Wait, when you push someone, perhaps with the super strength of these characters, but pushing someone through one floor is one thing. Falling from one floor to the other does not break the floor below it. But yeah, I mean, I felt that this was meant to have Peter go through one of the worst battles perhaps he's been through. Like, he was wounded after this.
Yeah, but this was
is
a little bit
cartoonish.
too much.
This was cartoonish, but he came out of it like I kind of felt, I mean, now you know what it's like to be in an earlier Spider-Man movie.
You're gonna hurt.
You're gonna hurt, and but that aside, everything else looked pretty cool and not that cartoonish, despite the fact that these are cartoonish characters.
Yeah.
But I wish we could have had more in the fight category when it comes to them. The two fights I liked the best were the ending one, where we got the 3 Spider-Mans going on against every villain, except Octavius, because he's on our side, but everyone else, because, the sheer weight of this scene, the how big this is, and to get to see the other Spider-Man in action too, it feels amazing. It didn't look as good as the other one though, which was Doctor Strange versus Spider-Man. Because we didn't talk about Doctor Strange at all, but
Not
he's
yet,
kind
but
of the
not
villain in the beginning.
Not so much as a villain as someone who's trying to prevent something bad from happening.
Because, like, to be fair, the whole movie would have been avoided at the beginning. Like, it was so easy to avoid it. They were dumb, both of them, to go in there. Like, Doctor Strange, I got the feeling like he just wanted to play around with magic. He's like the cool uncle who's like, hey, you want a beer? You want a beer?
Yeah.
Listen to your parents. And then he comes in with the, like, why would you do this shit? Like, you didn't care about this shit at the beginning. So why are you coming in with this speech now? And when it comes to Peter, that though I can understand, because that's kind of his arc in this movie, accepting that you gotta make sacrifices. His sacrifice here was that he was saying, I'm doing this for MJ and my best friend and stuff. Like, their lives are being compromised because of what I did. So I'm doing this for them. But then whenever he's asked, okay, well, make the sacrifice to lose them then. They're not going to remember you. He's like, but then, let's make sure they remember. And in the end, he's told, well, there's only one way to stop this all. And
they
it's
need to forget about you.
Yeah, and he's like, okay. Not only that, but he's, when he comes back later and he's like, he's about to present himself, he chooses not to do that because he understands he's got to be Spider-Man. And, telling them would put them in danger again.
And they won't have a normal life again.
Yeah, so he makes the hard choice of leaving them behind, which is this is a sacrifice that Spider-Man as a whole has to go through, that every superhero actually has to go through.
But if I'm being honest with you, I'm pretty sure that Destiny is gonna bring all of them together again in the future, because
he wasn't there when Toby told Andrew about that, but Toby was telling Andrew, are you seeing anyone and stuff? And no, not since Gwen. He's like, well, I mean, you're gonna find your person. I found MJ. He found MJ. He's probably gonna find an MJ
You're gonna find
too.
MJ.
But he's like, it took time for me, but we got things to work and everything is fine now. That's true. And not now, Tom's character is going through what Toby went through, which is having to, ask yourself, can you live with the idea that she is going to be in danger because she knows you? So, but he made the choice that Toby did in the first movie. Let's not put her in that situation. She doesn't know who I am. Let's leave her behind. We'll see if that changes, because Destiny brought the other Peter with his MJ. And, Andrew's character is going to be right behind Tom Holland's character eventually in the lore.
Yeah, in the lore. Speaking about lore, they could have maybe introduced the fact that, because they did say that Tobey Maguire's Peter had problem with MJ, but now they are fine.
Well, they had problems in the movies.
Yeah, they had problems in the movie, but now they are. They work out on it. They are fine. I won't expect them to be like kind of married together.
Maybe they are. They didn't mention it, but maybe they
mention
are.
it. But that would have been a really nice surprise, if I might say.
I mean, I'm definitely buying this DVD, and if maybe we have like cutscenes and stuff, and they discuss it, because I know there was a rumor that she was going to be in the movie, and it wasn't true, but who knows? Maybe they do talk about her more.
We kind of talked about the movie when we were going home, and you said that you would have liked that they show the other Spider-Man going back home.
Yeah.
And I just thought that, well, since they saved all the villains and they're going back home, Norman Osborn's gonna go back to a place where his son is dead.
Yes. But then, no, because
Yes.
if they are being sent back to the moment where they died, and they never, like, Harry became Green Goblin because his father died.
True.
So Harry would never,
saved
yeah.
them.
So,
Well, technically, is he saved?
well, yeah, he would
Or
be.
they
He would be because he never became Green Goblin.
What do you think about it, guys? Because
He never, well, what's to ask?
Yeah.
He would have never become
Yeah.
Green Goblin if his father was not Green Goblin.
if his father wasn't dead, you mean?
And, well, yeah, but he died because he was Green Goblin.
Yeah.
Because of the whole story, and first of all, like, there's the angst of, oh, Spider-Man killed my father, but then what happened after was he got possessed by Green Goblin, sort of. He became Green Goblin. Like, that's the whole reason why he died in the end. And against whom? Against a villain who won't exist anymore.
Okay.
No, wait, well, technically that's not true. He died against Venom, but Venom went against Peter because he had Sandman on his side. So, yes, Peter will face hardships in his universe.
Well, technically, Sandman's gonna go back to a time after he met Venom, because he wasn't dead back then.
Yeah.
So technically, Sandman is still in the present time.
It depends, like, multiple
So Harry
universe.
might still be dead. We don't know that.
No, because that would not make sense. Because all of them had the memories of what happened right till the moment they died. I would expect them to go back to that moment.
Yeah.
Or to the very, very beginning, you know. If it doesn't work like that, let's not go there. They're not gonna show us anything, so we can just pretend Harry's gonna be fine.
Please.
That was funny too, by the way. Like, did you have a best friend? I did. Like, he became a, I mean, he died in my arms after trying to kill me. It was very touching.
very, very emotional.
Yeah. And then the other guy, like, oh, fuck, I promise I will never turn into a villain trying to kill you.
I'm gonna try to kill you, man.
But it's true, it was touching back then. But yeah, everything was brought back. From, you know, the quirkiness to
They
calling
even brought
out.
back the difference from how their own Spider-Man worked as a superhero.
Well,
because
they called out every weird thing that happened, like from the extraordinary Spider-Man name to the how, you know, that Peter Parker used to dress to how he shoots web. And he's like, that's just normal for me. And they're like, whoa,
just like
so into it.
Just like breathing.
They're so into it. And yes, they did talk about it like it was like an erection or something. So you go there, man. You go there.
Yeah.
For sure, people made jokes about this online. I've seen some people talk about this. How, you know, if his blood is web, then how is his body working? And if it's not web blood, then in that case, what is he shooting? That's a bodily fluid. Like, what the fuck? But we don't go there. We don't talk about
No,
that.
we won't go there.
We don't talk about that.
You also did say that you love the fact that maybe, yeah, Tom Holland's Peter Parker and Andrew Garfield's Peter Parker are maybe more smart in the scientific area.
All of them
all
are in the
of
scientific-
them are geniuses.
But I really enjoyed the fact that we saw how experienced Tobey Maguire was when he shot, you know, he kind of fought Andrew Garfield, and he right away kind of understood, okay, you're using that machine or something. Like, I mean, the webs are coming from here, so I'll shoot that and you won't be able to fight me anymore. So that was pretty cool. Love
That was a
the
really quick
self-awareness. I really love the self-awareness of, you know, that sucks, man. Like, I always have to, you know, recharge these things and stuff.
Well, I don't have that problem except that one time in the second movie.
Well, those times in the second movie, whenever he's got an existential crisis, he said, so something like that.
Yeah.
But so yeah, the self-awareness
Performance
of
issues.
yeah, we used to be in those movies and they had problems, so let's address them. Really love that. And I mean, speaking of movies and nostalgia and stuff, the fact that they brought back part of the music too.
Oh.
I was wondering if they were gonna do that, and I was kind of trying to hear for the original score and stuff. And when Sandman entered, I felt like I thought I heard a kind of rearrangement of the that we had it. That was weird. Sorry, that we had in the old movies. I was like, it sounds a little bit like that, so maybe that's it. But when Tobey Maguire, got Tom not to kill Goblin, and we had that whole, touchy moment and stuff, and there's Norman, crying and stuff like that. We had the original music. It was exactly the same from the old movies. I do not remember the score from Extraordinary Spider-Man, so I can't say if there was anything about that in there.
Maybe
but
it
I
was.
recognize the score from Sam Raimi's movies.
So overall, pretty good movie, good entertainment.
Pretty good Marvel movie.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to win any Oscars. It's definitely relying on nostalgia. It's a bit too fast. There's a bit, there could have been more action, longer action scenes. I wish we could have had more, because too many villains, but then it felt good to see them.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they introduced every character, they knew we were going to freak out, because it felt good to see them in action again.
Every single one of them had their moment of grand entrance.
Yeah.
That we saw.
Literally, especially the Spider-Mans, when Andrew came in, it was a thing, but when Toby got in on the screen, it's almost like, I was kind of expecting the halo and the voices. It felt strong, And I really, really enjoyed how they handled the nostalgia of the movie, because that's the hype about this.
Nostalgia.
Yeah, so I really, really enjoyed it.
And red and blue spandex.
It's got its faults, but my young heart, who grew up with Spider-Man, literally can very easily forget those faults they had, and focus on the strength of the characters coming back, and that was cool. Okay.
So that was a little bit all over the place.
We discussed the movie.
Yeah, we discussed the movie.
I'm gonna have to edit a lot about the first part, because what qualifies as spoiler and what doesn't qualify as spoiler? I'll see.
If it isn't in the trailer, that's a spoiler.
If it's in the trailer, it's not a spoiler.
That's what I said. If it isn't in the trailer,
if it isn't,
yeah,
okay.
It's a spoiler.
But it's the first time we do this, but it does feel like a discussion from normal reactions. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. If you have not seen, sorry, the cat is freaking out. If you have not seen the movie and still watch the spoiler, part of the discussion somehow, go see it. It feels good to see them on screen.
Yeah,
check it out. Hopefully you get to see it on the big screen and in a room full of people who have also seen those movies, because to hear those murmurs of, oh my god, that's it feels good. I was kind of expecting the and we almost had that, just no screams.
I did clap though.
Yeah, some people
a
clapped.
few times.
I heard a few claps, but you feel the shiver from this, and it feels great to live that with a generation that grew up on those movies as well. So go check it out, and hopefully you enjoy it as much as we did, and hopefully we see you guys for another review.
Who knows which one will it be?
Maybe Matrix.
Yeah, Matrix is coming out soon.
I don't know, what I feel about the reboot. Not the reboot, but the sequel they're gonna do. Sequel? Yeah. But maybe that. We'll see. Anyway.
So thank you guys for watching, and see you for the next one.
Bye!